If you've never been around the Great Lakes, this is the largest comprehensive body of fresh water that exists.
It's a region where human activity over the last several hundred years has made significant impacts, some detrimental, to how these Great Lakes and the watersheds function. And one of the things NIFWIF does well is recognize that we are all stronger together than we are apart. And we did that through a competitive grant program called Sustain Our Great Lakes, or SOGL.
Sustain Our Great Lakes really hit the ground in about 2006. And it was a big vision, right? 5 of the largest lakes, all connected across 8 states.
When I first learned about the Sustain Our Great Lakes program, I thought, oh my gosh, it's finally here. This is a miracle. This is all these different federal agencies and private sector investors aligning around a common set of ecological goals.
I love what I do. It's a very good feeling when you can get up and want to go to work.
These woods, these streams are my backyard, you know, they're my stomping grounds, what I grew up on. It's a pretty fine and dandy job.
Green stormwater infrastructure investments like tree planting are helping capture and infiltrate rainwater where it falls, and also to combat a changing climate to keep communities cool and connected to nature.
Most people don't know, but Detroit was once known as the Paris of the Midwest because of its tree canopy cover. Between 1950 and 1980, we lost well over 500,000 trees. Since then, we planted over 133,000 trees throughout the city, over 249 acres of land that'll be reforested, and we've seen that happen by really engaging the community.
A lot of us think about water and water quality, and planting a tree does a lot to stop the runoff from storms and to keep soil from eroding, and it keeps our soil in place rather than flowing out to the Great Lakes, and that's a pretty big thing.
In the Lake Michigan watershed, dam removals and aquatic organism passage work is fueling the recovery and resilience of the critically important species, brook trout.
Trout Unlimited tries to replace that undersized culvert with one that spans the natural width of a stream channel to improve upstream to downstream passage for fish and other aquatic organisms. When our brook trout populations are intact and healthy, that's a signal to us that the ecosystem is also intact and healthy.
So excited. This couldn't be any better.
Sustain Our Great Lakes program that's really allowed us to make a pretty good impact on the landscape by replacing dozens of these across the areas and making fish passage more accessible and river function more healthy.
Near the shores of Lake Erie, invasive species control and wetland restoration along the coast is providing critical habitat for shorebirds, waterfowl, marsh nesting birds, and all kinds of wildlife that rely on these critically important coastal ecosystems.
Our wetlands are like your kidney. They filter the sediments, they filter those nutrients, they clean that water before it hits Lake Erie.
The issue with invasives is that once you get them, it's not an easy removal. Usually it's multiple treatments over multiple years.
And we've just seen a total facelift of these areas that were pretty much just inundated with invasive species. They've now been mostly returned to native habitats.
That's what it's all about right there. I mean, we never saw this kind of activity.
When you look out at the marsh and you see it at sunrise or sunset, hear all this raucous rock concert of birds singing and frogs croaking and leopard frogs snoring, and it's a success.
A female indigo bunting.
We definitely could not do what we're doing without NIFWIF. We've been very fortunate that they are not just a funding source, but also a partner.
If the future is going to be about one thing, it's going to be about water and access to water. And I think it is the shared mission of the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and all of our partners to do what we can right now to enhance and restore the Great Lakes for ourselves, for the wildlife, but also so that future generations may have access to this globally important resource, a place that I believe really has the power to transform hearts and minds as well.